Picture Philadelphia in early 2014. Lincoln cents were rolling off the presses at both Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, marked D, at staggering speeds. Over 13.6 billion coins struck that year. On the surface, that sheer volume sounds like every 2014 cent must be ordinary, but within that mass production lie quirks that make a few examples downright extraordinary. Right away, you'll recognize the shield reverse design, the first new back for the Lincoln cent since 1959. Designer Lyndall Bass's shield motif wasn't chosen by accident. It evokes unity, 7 vertical stripes bound together by a horizontal banner, representing the original states joined under a single federal government. Plenty of collectors love the symbolism, but most assume the design itself is the only story. In reality, it's the imperfections around that shield and Lincoln's bust that make a small fraction of 2014 cents skyrocket in value. Take the repunched mint mark on Denver struck examples. Mint employees manually punched the tiny D below the date, and on occasion the punch slipped or rebounded, leaving a crisp secondary outline. The best specimens show a clear D overlapping a fainter, shifted D, almost like a ghost. The strongest repunches, especially in red uncirculated grade, MS64RD or higher, often sell in the $200 to $350 range. One MS65RD example with a dramatically offset secondary D brought $420 in March 2025, illustrating how collectors prize that subtle layering of metal where the die told 2 stories at once. Over in Philadelphia, focus your attention on the double die obverse. As the hub impresses the die twice, a slight misalignment can translate into doubled lettering or date numerals. Look carefully at the motto E Pluribus Unum and the date 2014. An extra halo around letters or numerals, most visible at angles under strong light, signals that rarity. Even a well-worn VF30 piece with faint doubling can go for $40 to $75, while a crisp MS66 red with bold doubling soared past $1,350 at a recent Florida sale. And then there's the struck-through grease error. Picture this: a bit of grease or debris clogs part of the die before striking. When metal flows, it can't fill that clogged cavity, leaving a smooth, blank spot on Lincoln's cheek or jawline. Collectors debate whether to call these struck through or filled die, but regardless of terminology, eye appeal reigns supreme. A clean, well-centered struck-through spot on a red penny in MS64 pulled in $510 in January, over 20 times its face value. That illustrates the market's willingness to reward beauty and intrigue. You might ask, how often do planchet errors pop up? Rarely, but when they do, they're showstoppers. A 2014 penny struck on a trimmed planchet, where the blank metal piece has a tiny crescent cut out of the rim, can fetch $600 to $1,000, depending on how much of the portrait is missing. One collector discovered a 15% trimmed planchet penny hiding in a roll purchased from a bank in Madison, Wisconsin. It later sold for $875, a sum that covered the cost of his upcoming cruise, and then some. Market values for plain, choice examples are modest but steady. A typical MS63RB, red-brown, coin trades hands around $8 to $12, while MS65RD, full red, examples hover near $25 to $30. Once you slide into MS66RD territory, expect $40 to $55. Remember, the RD means full original red luster, no cleaning, no oxidation dulling that color into brown. Even slight toning can knock a grade down and slice the price in half, so store your pennies carefully in acid-free holders or flips. Dig into auction records and you'll find some jaw-droppers. In April 2025, a pristine MS67RD double die obverse coin, one of only 2 known examples, brought $2,800. That's a premium of nearly 80 times over what a run-of-the-mill MS67 would fetch. Rarity plus absolute condition equals real collector fireworks. Here's a behind-the-scenes look at grading agencies. PCGS and NGC have both certified thousands of 2014 shield cents, but they're picky about eye appeal. A coin might grade MS65, yet if it exhibits distracting bag marks or spotting, it may be designated MS65BN, brown, instead of RD. In early 2014, a small batch of cents emerged with unusually brilliant fields and satiny luster, likely from a slight tweak in bronze alloy hardness at Denver. These supersharp cents, if graded MS65RD or higher, routinely command 10 to 15% premiums over their peers. It's the type of nuanced characteristic that seasoned collectors hunt for during regional show bourses. Speaking of bourses, at the summer 2024 American Numismatic Association show, dealers set out pages of 2014 error cents under variety listings. One exhibitor chalked up over $3,000 in sales within the first hour, all on errors rather than standard red cents. That kind of frenzy can catch newcomers off guard, but for longtime collectors, it's yet another reminder that a lowly penny roll might hide more than 50 cents face value. Condition grades tell another part of the story. A very good VG8 circulated 2014 cent, with its rims worn and Lincoln's details softened, is worth face value, unless it harbors an error no one spotted. Once you climb into extremely fine EF40 territory, you might pay 25 to 35 cents per coin at retail. Uncirculated MS60, MS62 pieces trade at $1 to $2. From MS63 to MS64, you could see $4 to $8 for RB and up to $12 to $20 for RD. And a choice MS65 RD? Think $25 to $35 for a run-of-the-mill example, but errors can rapidly push those numbers into the hundreds or thousands. Now, let's talk technique. When hunting through pocket change, start by sorting coins under a bright LED lamp. Hold the penny at a low angle to catch doubling shadows on lettering. Then flip it to inspect the rim for off-center strikes or clipped planchets. If you spot anything intriguing, bag it immediately and note the mint facility. Later, compare against high-resolution photographs from online auction archives or the Red Book. That step helps distinguish true doubles or repunches from post-mint damage. Collectors also debate cleaning. It's almost never worth it. Toning and original mint luster add character and value. Once cleaned, even gently, the coin's grade designation will change, often losing RD status and dropping in value by as much as 50%. If you found a potentially valuable error cent but it's dirty, resist the urge to scrub. Instead, take it to a professional for grading, where experts can choose between holding it raw or encapsulating it to protect that unique mistake. A final anecdote: in November 2024, a retiree in Phoenix discovered a clutch of 8 2014 off-center cents in a loose bank roll. One was missing nearly 40% of its face, easily distinguishable by the dramatic crescent of blank copper across Lincoln's neck. That one coin, graded MS64 by NGC, sold for $1,250 at a Florida auction in February 2025. The retiree used half the proceeds to fund a grandchild's college fund, a story that highlights how even modern pennies can carry unexpected value, and sometimes, real-life impact. So take your time next time you pull a handful of pennies from the pocket. Look for doubling in the date, shifts in the mint mark, blank spots on the bust, and odd rim breaks. Even circulated pieces can surprise you. With practice, you'll train your eye to spot the tiniest slip UPS that mint workers never intended, and those slip UPS can turn a penny into a prize. When you're ready, we'll move on to the 2004 Lincoln cent, unearthing its own lineup of rare varieties and dramatic auction showdowns. Now let's bring our journey full circle with the 1980 Lincoln cent. At first glance, these pennies look similar to modern issues, but they carry their own chapter of die quirks, alloy oddities, and tales of lucky finds that make them just as thrilling for seasoned collectors. Back in 1980, the U.S. Mint was midway through the Lincoln Memorial Reverse era, a design first introduced in 1959 to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday. Production split between Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, D. Facilities yielded roughly 5.4 billion pennies that year, fewer than some other dates, but still plenty of metal flooding the marketplace. Yet within those billions, a small fraction of coins bear the subtle signs of the mint's imperfections, and spotting those is where your real treasure hunt begins. One of the hallmark rarities of 1980 is the double die obverse designation. Unlike later issues where doubling can be faint, some 1980 varieties exhibit bold doubling across Liberty, the date, or in God We Trust. A sharply doubled date on an MS65RD piece can command $400 to $600 at auction. In fact, a PCGS MS66RD double die obverse sold for $850 in January 2025, illustrating how dramatic die doubling turns a mass-produced penny into a standout. Off-center strikes also make a strong showing in 1980. Minor misalignments under 5% might fetch only a few dollars, but coins struck 20% or more off-center, where Lincoln's portrait or the memorial rim is sliced dramatically, can bring $75 to $200 even in AU, about uncirculated, grades. A collector in Ohio once pulled a 25% off-center 1980D from change, once graded MS63RB, it sold for $180, well above face and enough to remind us how a misfeed at the press can lead to unexpected value. Die cracks and die breaks earned the nickname, spider webs, for the way fine fissures spread across Lincoln's hair or the memorial pillars. In low grades, they may be worth only a few dollars, but a deeply defined crack running through the date on an MS64RD coin can push the price to $120 to $160. One memorable example, a penny with a heavy die break under the 1 in 1980, realized $175 at an online sale in March 2025, thanks to its striking, web-like pattern. Planchet errors are rarer but command top dollar when they appear. A 1980 cent struck on a clipped planchet, leaving a crescent missing from the rim, typically sells for $300 to $500, depending on the clip size and the coin's condition. Even more unusual are 1980 cents struck on foreign planchets, like an aluminum bronze blank. A lone MS62 aluminum bronze example achieved $1,200 in late 2024, a reminder that an out-of-place piece of metal can transform a humble cent into a headline act. Market values for standard, non-error 1980 cents remain approachable. Circulated coins in G4 to VF20 grades trade at face value up to 20 cents. AU specimens might range from 50 cents to $1. Uncirculated RB, red-brown, MS60, MS62 coins generally sell for $1.50 to $3, while RD, full red, MS63 examples fetch $5 to $8. At MS65RD, you're looking at $15 to $25 for a run-of-the-mill penny, before any error or unique characteristic adds a premium. Here's a little nugget from numismatic lore. In early 1980, a batch of cents rolled through the presses with a slightly softer bronze alloy mix. That softness produced extra sharp details, especially on Lincoln's cheek and the wheat stalks on transitional proof cents. Collectors still chase those soft blend examples. In MS64, they often bring 10 to 15% more than their standard counterparts. It's a subtle distinction, but when 10,000 eyes scan a tray of pennies, slight differences stand out. Stories of backyard discoveries continue to fuel the hunt. In August 2024, a Kansas hobbyist sifted through a jar of decades-old change and found a 1980 Philadelphia cent with a faint, secondary mint mark ghosted beneath the surface, likely from a test punch gone rogue. Once authenticated as an extremely rare repunch, it sold for $560. That sort of surprise underlines how even a well-worn penny could hide a twist meant for the mint's test lab rather than your pocket. Condition remains king. A VF20 penny with only gentle wear but clear detail might fetch 20 to 30 cents. Move into EF40 and AU50, and you might pay 50 cents to $1.50 at retail, depending on eye appeal. From MS60 through MS62, a clean, original RB coin is often $2 to $4. But if that coin shows full red luster, minimal bag marks, and exceptional strike, you could find it labeled MS64RD at $10 to $12, before factoring in any error type. Before sending any finds to grading, examine them under bright LED light at a low angle. Look for doubled lines in letters, thin web cracks, or planchet irregularities. If an anomaly catches your eye, bag it separately and compare against online archives or the Whitman Encyclopedia images. That prep work ensures you submit only your most promising pieces for grading, maximizing the return on your submission fees. As we wrap up, remember, the 1980 Lincoln cent may seem ordinary, but its errors and varieties prove that even coins minted less than half a century ago can hold surprises. From doubled dies and clipped planchets to rare alloy blends and spiderweb die cracks, each misstep at the mint can translate into collector excitement and auction action. So whether you're spinning rolls, checking pocket change, or trading at the local show, keep an eye out for those tiny irregularities. A worn penny might be just spare change, or it could be the centerpiece of your next auction win. And when you've tracked down your 2014, 2004, and 1980 rare finds, you'll hold in your hand a trio of penny stories that span more than a century of Lincoln's legacy, and a testament to the idea that sometimes, the smallest coins carry the biggest secrets. Share the anecdotes that turned errant strikes into lifelong obsessions, and explore how grade and finish can turn a humble 1-cent piece into a cornerstone of any collection. When production kicked off in January 2003, the Philadelphia and Denver mints each received thin copper-plated zinc planchets rolled to a precise 1.52 mm thickness. That year, the mint subtly adjusted its plating formula to improve adhesion, a tweak intended to reduce peeling but which instead sowed the seeds for a surge of lamination errors. By spring, reports trickled in of partial copper flaking that left silvery white patches, sometimes as large as a dime, where the zinc core peeked through. Collectors who spotted these anomalies in pocket change suddenly found themselves at the forefront of a modern rarity hunt. These lamination errors vary widely. In minor cases, thin copper fragments detach at the rim, creating feathery curls that shimmer under direct light. More dramatic specimens reveal bold patches of exposed zinc, lending the coin an almost bimetallic appearance. The most sought-after examples show extensive copper loss from Lincoln's shoulder to the shield's crossbar on the reverse, offering an arresting contrast between bright orange-brown and pale gray. These dramatic defects earned a place in major error coin catalogs by late 2004, with the boldest lamination losses classified as LD3 for their pronounced size and eye appeal. Alongside lamination, 2003 saw an uptick in die cracks around Lincoln's bust and the shield's edge. Early in the year, a prominent crack formed on the obverse, slicing through Lincoln's jawline and traveling toward the rim. Later, a reverse crack arched from the shield's upper left corner down to the motto's baseline. Collectors nicknamed this pairing the junction crack, since it occasionally connects obverse and reverse through planchet thinning. When both cracks appear on a single cent, it becomes a prized centerpiece, commanding premiums that outstrip most other modern dollar-forged rarities. Subtle doubling errors also surfaced during a brief die polishing lull in mid-2003. On certain Denver cents, the lettering of "In God We Trust" exhibits ghost-like echoes, as though the die received a slightly shifted second impression. These doubling varieties escaped formal recognition for years, only gaining numismatic notoriety after high-resolution photographs circulated on collector forums in 2012. Today, a well-documented, trust-doubled variety is catalogued and eagerly sought, with certified specimens trading hands for four-figure sums when presented in high-grade proof-like condition. Despite these myriad varieties, the overall mintage remained a staggering 7.3 billion coins, ensuring most 2003 pennies remain mundane. Yet the few genuine errors that slip through grading service doors become auction block sensations. In October 2023, a Denver mint cent boasting both lamination LD3 and the junction crack achieved $5,600 when graded MS66RB by a leading service. A solo LD2 lamination error certified MS65RD sold for $2,900 just weeks later. Even the lesser, feather edge, curl variant, graded -58 Australian dollars, realized $450 in an online auction, illustrating that even lower tiers hold value when the defect carries visual drama. Online dealer sites reflect these headline results in their price guides. Ungraded LD1 lamination cents in circulated grades start around $40, while bold LD 3 pieces in EF40 can fetch $350 or more without certification. Certified MS-64 RB junction crack coins average $1,200 to $1,500, and a pristine MS-67 RB can top $7,000. Proof-like doubling specimens graded PF69 DCAM regularly open near $3,500 and have seen bids exceed $4,200 when accompanied by crisp provenance. The backstories behind these coins often read like detective novels. One collector describes spotting an LD3 lamination error in a roll dug from his grandmother's 2003 coin stash. He recounts thinking at first it was a post-mint stain before realizing the copper had physically peeled away. Another recounts trading a first-generation gaming console to acquire a PF69 DCAM Denver doubled letter sent from a private seller, a barter that allowed both parties to walk away delighted. Even casual finds make for legendary tales. At a coin show in Chicago, a dealer's young assistant sold a raw LD2 lamination penny to a visiting collector for $75, unaware that morning's headline sale had just pushed that variety closer to $300 graded. The collector later returned with a grin and a handful of crisp 20s, leaving the assistant to realize the coin's true worth only after consulting an error guide. Condition remains the ultimate arbiter of value. Grading services use subtle distinctions, red-brown, RB, brown, BN, and red, RD, designations, to differentiate final eye appeal. A lamination LD 3 cent in MS-64 RD can leap above its RB counterpart by several $100s, thanks to the vibrancy of its untouched copper finish. Meanwhile, circulated lamination cents graded G6 or VG8, though far less dramatic, still command 2 to 3 times the price of a common 2003 cent in the same grade, simply because the error is visible to the naked eye. Collectors often balance eye appeal with affordability. Those seeking standout examples for display may opt for a negative $55 Australian RB lamination penny, which offers a crisp peel effect while remaining pocket change friendly at around $200 to $250. Others pursue die-crack combos in MS-65 RB, appreciating the network of fine fissures that weave across both sides as a testament to the mint's high-pressure machinery. As we close the book on our trio of modern Lincoln cent stories, it's clear that rare pennies aren't confined to pre-1940 classics. These 2003 specimens prove that even high mintage years can spawn errors so dramatic they redefine expectations. From peeled copper lamination to lightning bolt cracks and stealthy doubled letters, each variation offers a window into the precise yet unpredictable world of minting. Condition, provenance, and visual allure converge to elevate a 1-cent piece into collectible gold. So whether you're thumbing through a change jar, auditioning rolls at the local bank, or scanning auction listings late into the night, remember that treasure often appears where you least expect it. The 2003 cents journey from workshop mishap to auction centerpiece underscores the thrill that drives all collectors, the chance to unearth the extraordinary hidden within the ordinary. And as long as mint presses keep whirring, there will always be another penny waiting to surprise and delight.